Well, hi everybody, and welcome to the Internet of Unintended Consequences. Just, a time where my friend Tom
and my friend Deb,
we just get together and talk about all the things that sort of overwhelm us in terms of this technology, especially when we're trying to deal with our children and our grandkids and all the wonderful things that they are doing. But Tom, I think the first question everybody's going to ask us is, why are we doing this?
Well, I think one reason we're doing it is because we feel so overwhelmed by all this going on in technology.
Yeah, I think that's like the perfect word is overwhelmed. I mean, we hear about these wonderful benefits, right? All these things we can do now, but then sometimes I feel like, how do I take advantage of that, And even simple things can be overwhelming. So what has been overwhelming for you lately?
Passwords.
Oh. Don't get me started.
So how many passwords do you have?
Oh, I don't know. I think, I first of all, I have to write them down, right? Because there's so many, and you're supposed to have a different one for every account that you have online, and they're supposed to have what? You were telling me.
Uppercase, lowercase, symbols, exclamation marks, punctuation.
Yeah, so imagine all that. So I think right now, like I said before, I have to write them down because I can't remember all of them, and I think as I get older, I remember less. But right now it's about 5 pages, single line type of my passwords.
That's scary.
It is. It's like, oh my God.
If you have to keep up with them.
Yeah, that's the other thing, right? Because we're told that we have to change them every so often. And every time that you hear, that something has happened, there's been a breach, right? So change your password. I mean, I use something called a password generator to sort of help. I mean, I don't know about you, but how many new ideas do you have for new passwords?
Not many.
Yeah.
Because they all play off the same ones, and then people can figure them out.
Yeah, and they tell us what? Don't use 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Don't use our kids' names or our dogs' names or things like that, right? So I use this password generator trying to get up these passwords. But I think it took me like last year when I was trying to update everything, 4 months to change all these passwords.
Then you had to change them again by the time you got through with all of that.
Yes, right? Because they say every 6 months. I don't know. It's just too much for me.
So if you've got 5 pages of passwords,
yeah.
What happens when you have to go back and change the password on the first page? Do you have to retype everything? Because you can't keep it in your computer.
No, you don't want to keep it on your hard drive, right? Because if something happens, then there goes everything.
Exactly.
So usually I'll write it out, and then by the end of the year I have all these squiggly lines, which is probably not very good to have, but that's what happens, right? And then at the end of the year I'll update it or something. But, and I know you said your wife was having some trouble with this stuff and just trying to get them through.
She's almost bald now. She's been yanking her hair out.
That's not so nice. I'm going to tell her you said that.
Well, she may see it on this.
Yes, she may. But, on a serious note, though, we know why it's important to have these passwords changed. We know why it's important to try to do some strong passwords. I mean, it is about protecting our identity, protecting our finances sometimes, protecting the things that we hold most dear, like our pictures of our grandkids, right? Because they're on our cell phones now. Nobody has these albums anymore. I mean, we were stopped in the elevator and somebody showed us a beautiful picture of their new baby, right?
Exactly.
Right on their cell phone. And I think, trying to remember how to protect that and then the passwords. But if we didn't have passwords, what would we do?
Well, I don't know. That's a good question. But you deal with this all the time. What have you seen lately in social media and passwords?
Well, you were talking about a movie.
Oh.
Right? And the idea that they had there.
Well, you were talking about the biometrics and the Da Vinci Code, and we saw how that worked out in the Da Vinci Code.
Yeah, trying to get, by your eyeball and the iris and reading the iris, and what did they do? They just cut out his eye and killed him. I don't know if that's too good, but, it is interesting how these people and these researchers are doing things like, they can tell from your heartbeat, and if you have a certain bracelet so that they can do your heart rate. Somebody even talked about, well, maybe a security pill that you take every morning, like you take your vitamin every morning.
Right.
You take the security pill every morning to prove that you're you. And, I just think, wow, how much more overwhelming than it is to say, how do you prove it's you?
Maybe one day they'll create an app for that.
Who knew?
Who knew?
join us in this conversation because it is about what overwhelms you. So make sure you tune into our radio show. Call us in, be part of the conversation on social media. We'll give you instructions and step-by-step directions on how you do that because we want to help you to deal with what is overwhelming you. So remember,
who knew, and share it on with us on the radio show.
Bye.